Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be going over an article that popped up on my phone recently, and I thought it was very interesting and I just kind of wanted to go over it with you. By the way, I don't know why I got this Google alert. It was a Google News notification. I don't know what kind of settings I have, but it popped up an article from Purseblog, which is the blog portion of Purse Forum. I don't know which one came first, but Purseblog, they talk about fashion related news. So the article is called Top Tips for Building a Relationship with a Chanel Sales Associate, with a subtitle, Insider Tips to Ensure a Fruitful Relationship with Your SA. And then there's a handshake over a Chanel boy bag. The author is a Monsieur Hilton, but we'll just go over it. So I'll link it below in the description if you're interested. So he starts off, the ever elusive Chanel relationship is like finding last year's impossible to track down caramel Chanel 19. Very on trend with what's going on with Chanel. At first, it appears easy to find, but it's nearly impossible. With a brand as shrouded in mystery as Chanel, it's no wonder it can feel hard to connect with sales associates, SA for short. I do, however, have some tips to ensure a successful relationship with a Chanel SA. Okay, so the first tip on how to build a successful relationship with your Chanel SA, be on time. Truly cannot stress this enough. When your SA sets up a designated time for you, they're running on a schedule and must prepare for your visit and visits from other clients. You wouldn't be late for a date with your significant other. Don't be late for an appointment with your SA. I agree. I mean, it's common courtesy. If you have an appointment, don't be late. Now, of course, this only applies to appointment times. I don't necessarily always schedule appointments. Now, when COVID was at its height and there was really strict lockdowns, and even still today, there are some boutiques that see clients by appointment only, and therefore, you need to schedule it, and yes, you need to be on time, or I would say early. I don't know if I would put this be on time as the first tip. I don't think that's the most important because it might not always apply. You don't always have an appointment, and it's okay to just pop in. That's usually what I do. If I know, for example, I'm going to a shopping center for the day, I'll just ask my SA, hey, are you working today? Okay, I'll see you sometime that day. I don't like to restrict myself to a specific time if I can help it, because I don't necessarily know what time I'm going to be there. So yes, if you have an appointment, be on time, but I don't know that that's the most important tip for having a successful relationship. The next tip, give them space. Be mindful that your SA has a million things going on and can't always drop everything to assist you. Whether it's a physical client in the boutique holding their attention or they're simply off, they will get back to you in a timely manner. You don't want to be that client that calls 10 times in 5 minutes. Now, I agree and I kind of disagree with some parts, and I'm going to skip ahead because I always find comments to be very enlightening and refreshing. I'll get back to the rest of the article, but I had to address this comment. The first one that had the most upvotes is a commenter, Irene. Did you really just give us all a tutorial on how to kiss a sale clerk's ass while we are the ones in there about to drop thousands? Top thing on the million things to do list is help a customer. They can dust the shelves later. As a former client advisor for LV, I completely understand. Yes, of course, please be considerate of your sales associate's time. Understand that, yeah, there are a million things to do. But what this commenter Irene says, top thing on the million things to do list is to help a customer. That is 1,000,000% true. That is the prime mission directive for all sales associates. They can dust the shelves later. They're not being dismissive. I mean, they're being maybe a little flippant about, dusting, whatever. And by the way, most luxury stores do have a cleaning company that will, actually clean. So you don't really have to dust. But yeah, there are other things you need to do. The most important thing is to help a customer. And again, as a former LV client advisor, I had a ton of things to do. Check out my video, LV Toxic Work Culture. In my personal experience, one of the LV boutiques I worked at, there was no separate shipping, receivings, processing department. I was the department. I was the only person in charge of handling all the incoming shipments and sending every item out, every charge send, every transfer. It was all on me. I was not, however, an official shipping, receivings, processing clerk. I was technically still a client advisor, and so therefore I was still responsible for meeting the sales goals for the day, despite my having to be in the back stock room, organizing everything, dealing with shipping, dealing with receivings and packaging and stuff. Yeah, I did have a million things to do, but if there were a ton of clients in the store, at any second I had to drop everything I was doing and go out and help clients. So I agree, yeah. Helping clients is the most important thing. And then just staying in the comments section, this person, Jenny, responds, sales clerk, clearly you have no understanding about luxury brand service. They are educated and well-informed people who are there to help you with their brand. If you want a sales clerk, push add to cart on Amazon for your Chanel bag and dusty tweed knocks. I mean, I don't comment on these things, but I'm so glad that then Natalie responded to that response and said, I've heard many consumers of luxury brands use the term sales clerk versus sales associate, etc. It isn't meant as a disrespect as you are implying. It's not. Sales clerk, sales associate, client advisor, client specialist. It's all the same term. They're all interchangeable names for a sales associate or an SA or a CA. And it's not demeaning. The fact that this person says, if you want a sales clerk, push add to cart, in your mind, what is the difference between a sales clerk and a sales associate or a client advisor, client specialist? It's just a term. A lot of brands have their own terms, but they all essentially provide the same service and they are sales associates. So going back to the give them space advice. So yes, they do have a million things to do, but what they mean is, don't be surprised if the sales associate isn't as responsive. It's not like you're texting a friend and you're having a chat back and forth, you know, all day long. A lot of times, especially now with the appointments, again, going back to appointments, sometimes they have a client and that client in person has their undivided attention. So if you're texting your sales associate asking for what's in stock and they don't respond right away, don't be mad. Don't expect them to respond right away. Also, they're in different time zones. Understand that the store may be closed when you're asking. You know, I'm here on the East Coast. I have sales associates on the West Coast, and sometimes they aren't even awake yet in the morning when I'm asking about a bag or something, and I'll just expect that they'll respond, you know, when they're awake. And also, if they're off that day, please don't expect that a sales associate is going to respond to you. Now, this is kind of on a case-by-case basis because there are some sales associates, depending on the employer, the store, they do work on a commission basis. And if they want that sale, they have their phone on them 24/7 and they'll respond to you. You need to kind of assess the situation and see if that's the kind of sales associate who is willing to go above and beyond and respond to your inquiries on a day off. They don't always do that. And if they don't, then understand that. If that's not what you want, then you need to find a new sales associate because you cannot expect everyone to respond to your every inquiry immediately, especially when they're not working. Okay, this next one. Loyalty is key. Have you ever wondered how that one person you follow always gets the bag of the season, those sold out dad sandals, or best of all, a gift? Hint, they're shopping with one SA consistently. The best allocations and gifts are given to loyal clients who shop with one SA and one boutique. The more loyalty you show by shopping with the same SA, the greater the perks. As you continue to build your profile, your status changes based on your spending. Starting with an annual $20,000 spend, a client is deemed elite, and certain perks will apply as you progress. It starts with being invited to in-store events, birthday gifting, and eventually as you grow as a client, it leads to holiday gifting and show invites. Now, again, I find a lot of this is true, but some of this is not entirely accurate. Now, what jumped out at me immediately was starting with an annual $20,000 spend. A client is deemed elite and certain perks will apply, including and then leading up to holiday gifting. Okay, I have already shown this in a previous video, but this is a gift that I received and it is from Chanel Beauty. It is their snow globe for last year, I guess based on an annual spend that I had with the boutique, but I did not spend $20,000 to get on this elite client list. Now, I did a video talking about LV VIC perks and benefits and freebies, so check that video out. I think the minimum amount, it was something in like the 30 or 40,000 or something to be considered an LV VIC. Throughout the video, I showed you the types of gifts that some clients receive, and you don't necessarily need to spend that exact dollar amount or above to be considered kind of a VIC. There are many customers who don't spend $20,000, but they're still loyal to the brand, they're loyal to the sales associate, to the boutique, and they can be invited to the holiday events. They do receive gifts, they receive freebies without having to spend that amount. And also, just going back to the subheading, loyalty is key. Yes, it does help very much if you shop only with one sales associate, you know, kind of go around and see who's a good fit. If you're not getting good vibes from your sales associate, then go ahead and, you know, find someone else. Maybe find another boutique if you're fortunate enough to have one close to you. But I can tell you that you don't have to only shop at one boutique. So for example, I shop at the Chanel here in Atlanta and I got this snow globe, but I also shop at another Chanel boutique because if you follow my channel, I moved recently, I moved to a different state, and I still shop from my sales associate in that state. And in fact, they sent me this Chanel magazine, issue 22, the Rue Cambon magazine, and it included a note from the store director of that boutique thanking me for shopping there. I have not stepped foot in that boutique in years. Actually, I haven't stepped foot in that boutique since they opened because it's a brand new boutique. So I haven't been to the new location. I shop around. It's okay to shop around. And if you are a Chanel client, you know this because not every Chanel boutique has the exact same allocations, meaning they don't all have the same inventory. If you're looking for something specific, and let's say, for example, you shop solely at the Chanel boutique within a Saks might not have purchased that item for their entire boutiques within their department store. So you might have to shop at the Chanel in Neiman Marcus, or you might have to shop only at the Chanel standalone boutique, which probably is the best way to get something because obviously they have the widest array of inventory being a Chanel standalone boutique. So that's another piece of advice that isn't necessarily in here. So yeah, you can shop your heart out with one Chanel boutique and one Chanel sales associate. But if that sales associate and if that boutique is located in a smaller location or a location that doesn't have everything you want, it might not help you because you might not get these great gifts. They might not even have these fancy events and store events that you would be invited to. So loyalty is key to an extent. Next, attitude is never acceptable. It's understandable that no one wants to wait in a line or that they're annoyed that their dream item is sold out. Please take a moment to place yourself in your SA's shoes and remember they've been dealing with less than friendly clients all day. You'll attract more flies with honey than vinegar. It's actually quite shocking these days if you listen closely to client interactions because rarely are the words please and thank you uttered anymore. However, SAs and their managers who decide on gifts and allocations notice these things. I would disagree that it is rare that please and thank you are uttered anymore. I mean, I understand it's an artistic choice of this author, but I think people generally are friendly and say please and thank you, but I mean, it's okay. That last statement, SAs and their managers are the ones who decide gifts and allocations. Again, it's to a certain extent because, for example, this amazing Chanel snow globe, it really wasn't up to the manager and my sales associate at this boutique because what they do is they have a list of clients that, let's say, they recommend. They send it up to Chanel HQ, and Chanel HQ is the one who decides, maybe based on spend. I know LV does a similar thing where managers submit their recommendations for VIP clients, but they maybe don't necessarily make that list. Even at the boutique level, your SA might recommend to the manager that you should be on this elite client list, but based on other clients at that location, you don't make the cut. But yeah, you should be nice, not necessarily because you want gifts, but just because it's a good thing to be a nice person. Next, research, research, research. Chanel is the only luxury brand where clients need to research well in advance what they want to be able to secure these items. You know when that collection is presented? Well, that's a good time to take a photo to alert your SA. If you're already an established client, they'll be able to order that piece specifically for you. And if you're a new client, they'll be able to reserve it for you as the collection approaches. Don't forget that Chanel has 6 client-ready collections per year. And by the time you see someone post an unboxing, it's more than likely sold out in boutiques. After all, Chanel is the only brand that deems 8 collections necessary every year. And then they go on to list the items, spring, summer, cruise, etc. Each collection is launched every 2 months. And once these seasonal items sell out, they'll never return in the same fashion. This is not necessarily true. I think that Chanel and LV are similar in that a lot of people have that scarcity mentality. And yes, they do rush out to grab those really hot items and reserve their spot on the wait list. But there are some times when something's available and you really can just walk in and you have your pick. Not every single item is waitlisted. Not every single item is sold out. Sometimes they get late shipments in. One of my sales associates posted a Chanel bag and I was like, that is an old bag. It was from the summer or spring of 2020 or 2021. I don't know if it was just missing in action or if it was a return and then was held in a warehouse, but they had this magical bag that, was supposedly sold out everywhere. One of my Chanel bags that I purchased at the end of 2020 was the Chanel Cruise collection it was either earlier that year or even the year before. And almost every single Chanel SA told me it's sold out, it's sold out. All my SAs told me that I'm very loyal to and, still continue to shop with, but they all said it's sold out. And it was only until a follower reached out to me and said, hey, my Chanel SA got this for me recently. Maybe she can find another one for you. And lo and behold, there was one left in the country. So I don't know what happens. I don't know how these things turn up. I don't know if Chanel is doing the same thing like where LV says, oh my gosh, all the monograms sold out and it's going to be discontinued. And then there's a frenzy of buying. But it's not necessarily true that if something sells out, you'll never get it again. And it's not necessarily true that everything is on a wait list and impossible to find. Next, visit but don't stalk. The pandemic has drastically changed the shopping habits of the world. If you're a new client, you'll have to put in some time to get to know your SA, blah, blah, blah. Once you've established that magic chemistry, now you need to get them to remember you. Start with requesting an appointment with your SA, mention items you like, follow up by visiting once or twice a month. SAs are constantly juggling hundreds of clients. You must be remembered, but for the right reason. Top clients of all brands rarely step foot in stores these days because they've established that rapport with their SA so that they are always considered for items before the public. That is actually so true. And I'm not saying that I'm a top client, but I rarely go into the store these days. I hate it. It's so far from me where I live now. I don't go into stores. I would say 99% of my shopping is done through text messages with my SAs. So yeah, that is very true. And that very last statement, they do consider me for items before the public. As soon as a shipment comes in at this point, they'll text me and say, hey, we just got this in. Literally, it still has the wrapping and everything. So yeah, I do agree with that. And it's so funny because this author is giving you strict step-by-step advice about how to establish this relationship. It's almost like dating advice. You got to play a little hard to get with your SA. So yeah, visit but don't stalk. I mean, yeah, that's true, I guess. When I used to work for LV, we had this one client come in and she was a very nice lady, but she was exhausting. And fortunately, she wasn't my client. My colleague took care of her. And I don't know, my colleague like really wanted to wine and dine her. I don't know if she thought this client had deep pockets. She was a professional working woman. She had money, but she wasn't necessarily dropping thousands every day. But you could tell that this client loved the wining and dining aspect of coming in. She would be given champagne. She would be, you know, fawned over. And my coworker just always went all out for her. And I was like, And I remember thinking, okay, that's her choice. You know, there were no time limit. I think now with a lot of luxury boutiques, there is a time limit for your appointment because, you know, especially because you need to be one-on-one, but she would be there for hours. And it just, come on, lady, we can't be with you all day for hours. And then she ends up leaving the store and not buying anything. So yes, visit but don't stalk. And in some cases, you don't even need to visit. Just text your inquiry and you're taken care of. Appreciation. My final piece of advice, your SA is human and just wants to be appreciated as such. A little gesture such as a note or a cup of coffee means the world to your SA and helps them remember you when that special piece comes into the boutique. Yes, that is very true. Be appreciative of your SA. You can send a note, you can send a thank you, you can send an email, you bring them coffee, send them a Starbucks gift card, do all those things. That is very helpful. In general, I found this article to be helpful, but again, just on a very surface level. This advice can really apply to retail in general. I don't necessarily think that, except for the mention of the Chanel collections throughout the year, that this necessarily applies to only having a relationship with a Chanel SA. This is helpful advice for having a great relationship with any SA, but it's really not that deep advice. It just is very obvious, I think. So when I saw the headline, I was like, oh great, Chanel SA advice, like what are their secrets? There's really no secret. Overall, it's just be nice and be considerate of their time, their attention. So yeah, I agree with most of it. But again, as a former LV employee and as a current Chanel kind of a VIC, I guess, some of this isn't necessarily true. Oh, I forgot to mention, going back to the 20,000 spend in order to be considered elite and invited to things. Years ago, I was considered a Chanel VIC at a different location, to the point that I was literally on the board of, it's called Saks Advisors. This was at a Chanel boutique within Saks. I was part of the Chanel Saks Advisory Board, so I would get these surveys from Saks. And the coolest part, I was invited to a lunch at a very fancy steakhouse with other Chanel VICs. And at the lunch was the Chanel marketing and buyer, some very high up Chanel execs. And they were showing us collections that were coming out next year and asking for our input and anything else we wanted to mention, things that we wanted to see. I thought that was so helpful and so exciting, and it was such a great experience. I definitely did not spend $20,000 or whatever was the equivalent of spending $20,000 back then, which was about 10 years ago, I think. So yeah, overall the article was great, it was helpful, but I disagree with some of the things that this author said. So let me know if you read the article, let me know what you think about all this. If you have any other tips for what you think would help your relationship with a Chanel SA or any SA. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.